Every world hides its secrets, and some beings belong to more than one. I am born of two worlds where science meets spirituality and reality collides with imagination. Welcome to the space between worlds. The twin suns of Zintheria were setting, their orange light spilling over the silver towers of the alien capital. From above, the city looked calm, almost peaceful, but inside the royal palace a storm was breaking. Princess Aelira stood before the emperor, her father, her heart pounding like the drums of war echoing across the hall. Her golden armor glimmered faintly, but her voice trembled. "You cannot destroy them," she said. "The humans did nothing wrong." The emperor's eyes burned bright blue, cold and furious. "They built colonies on sacred ground. They must be erased. You will lead the fleet, Aelira. That is an order." But she shook her head. "No, I won't kill innocent lives." The silence that followed was sharper than any blade. Soldiers turned away, afraid to breathe. Even the throne's energy core pulsed slower, sensing the rage that filled the air. "You are no daughter of mine," the emperor whispered at last. "From this day, you are banished from Zintheria." Guards seized her arms. Aelira didn't fight, she only looked up at her father one last time, eyes filled with sorrow. "One day," she said softly, "you'll see what humans truly are." The emperor gave a single command. A burst of light, a cry, and she was gone, cast out through the teleport gates to a world at the edge of the stars. The forest world, the planet Alaris, was wild and ancient, a place where giant trees reached the sky and glowing moss covered the ground. The air shimmered with blue mist, and strange bird-like creatures sang from the treetops. It was beautiful but deadly. Aelira woke up under a tree, her armor cracked, her energy crystal drained. She tried to call for help, but her ship's link was broken. The exile was real. She was alone. For days, she wandered the forest. The food was strange, the water heavy with minerals, but she learned to survive. Her body was weak, but her mind, her warrior's spirit, stayed strong. At night, she could hear the forest breathing. The wind whispered through the roots like an old song. It almost felt alive. Sometimes she thought she saw eyes in the dark. But they were not beasts, they were watchers, spirits of the woods, curious about the alien princess who fell from the stars. The signal one night. While trying to repair a broken communicator, she heard a faint sound, a human distress signal. The frequency was old, from Earth's early space fleet. She frowned. "Humans here," her heart raced. She turned the receiver, boosted the signal. Through static, a desperate voice came. "This is Ethan Hale, Exploration Unit 47, ship damaged. If anyone hears this, then silence." Aelira stared at the device. She had been banished for saving humans, and now one was calling for help in the same forest where she hid. Was it a trap or fate? She remembered her father's words. They must be erased. No, she couldn't ignore it. "Hold on, human," she whispered. "I'm coming." The encounter, it took her 2 days to find the crash site. The forest grew darker as she moved deeper, huge trees with roots like serpents and glowing spores floating like fireflies. Her armor's sensors flickered, picking up heat signatures ahead. Then she saw it, a small human shuttle, half buried in the moss. Smoke rose from its broken wings. She approached quietly, weapon ready. Inside, Ethan lay injured. His leg was bleeding and his eyes were barely open. When he saw her, he froze. The sight of a tall alien woman with silver eyes and pointed ears was like something out of his nightmares. Stay back," he said weakly. "I'm not your enemy," Aelira said softly. Her voice carried an echo, musical but sad. She knelt beside him and touched his wound. Her fingers glowed faintly, sealing the bleeding with alien nanotech. Ethan's breathing slowed. He looked at her in disbelief. "You helped me." "Yes, you called," I answered. He tried to smile. "You're not one of them, are you?" "No," she said after a pause, "not anymore." The sky burns as Aelira helped Ethan out of the wreck. A distant sound rolled through the forest, a low hum growing louder. She looked up. The sky shimmered red. 3 alien drones flew overhead, scanning the forest floor. Her father's hunters had come. "They found me," she whispered. Ethan looked confused. "Who?" "My father's soldiers. They will kill anything that hides me, including you." She pulled him under a fallen tree, covering them with moss and dirt. The drones passed above, lights sweeping across the trees. For a moment, one beam stopped right over their hiding spot. Elira held her breath. The air around them vibrated. Ethan's heart raced so fast he thought the machines could hear it. Then suddenly, the light moved on. The hum faded. Silence returned. Elira exhaled slowly. "We must leave, they will come again." Ethan stared at her, this alien woman who saved him, who risked her life to protect him. Something inside him shifted. "Why are they after you?" he asked. She looked toward the glowing horizon, where the twin moons rose behind the trees. "Because I refuse to destroy your kind," said quietly. "And now they want to destroy me." The camera of imagination could pull back here, the forest glowing under the twin moons, the broken human ship smoking in the shadows, and two figures standing against the dark, one human, one alien, both outcasts, both hunted. And somewhere above, in the cold halls of the Emperor's palace, a general reported, "We found traces of the princess, my lord. She's not alone." The Emperor's eyes glowed. Then burned the forest. The night was colder on the forest world of Alaris. Soft blue mist rolled between the trees, glowing under the twin moons. Every shadow looked alive. Every sound felt like it was watching. Ethan Hale woke up to the faint hum of his ship's failing systems. Sparks danced across the console and smoke filled the air. His oxygen monitor blinked red. He coughed, trying to stand. His leg burned with pain. "No signal, no connection," he muttered, slamming the side of his communicator. Nothing but static. The last thing he remembered was the meteor storm, bright shards of light tearing through the sky. He tried to dodge them, but one hit his shuttle's wing. The crash had thrown him deep into this strange forest. Now he was alone, or so he thought. The strange forest, when morning came, the light was golden and soft. Huge trees stretched high above him, their roots thick as walls, their leaves glowing faint green. The ground pulsed faintly, like the forest itself was breathing. Ethan limped forward, scanning the area with a handheld device. Unknown flora, unknown life readings, energy signals nearby. He frowned. The readings were impossible. They looked like artificial power signatures, but mixed with organic matter, almost as if the forest itself was alive. He stopped by a stream, washing the blood off his leg. The water shimmered like liquid glass, and when he touched it, small sparks of light floated away. "Beautiful," he whispered, "but definitely not Earth." The markings, after a few hours, he began to notice things that didn't belong: smooth lines carved into tree bark, strange circular symbols glowing faintly in blue. He knelt beside one and brushed the moss away. The markings pulsed softly, responding to his touch. It wasn't random art, it was language. "Someone's been here," he said, his voice echoing through the quiet woods. "Someone intelligent." He followed the trail of symbols deeper and deeper. His scanner began to flash with stronger energy signals and a faint heat source ahead. His heartbeat quickened. When he finally reached a small clearing, he froze. There, half hidden behind a massive tree root, was a shelter made of alien metal, shaped like curved bones, glowing faintly. Inside, he saw movement. The stranger, a shadow, shifted behind the light. Then she stepped out, tall, graceful, silver eyes shining in the sunlight. Her skin had a faint glow and her hair shimmered like white gold threads. She wore light armor that looked both ancient and advanced. Ethan couldn't move. His brain screamed alien life form, but his heart whispered beautiful. The alien looked at him just as carefully, her hand hovering near a glowing weapon on her hip. For a long time, neither spoke. The forest around them went completely silent. Even the birds stopped singing. Then Ethan raised both hands slowly. "I don't mean any harm," he said. His voice shook. "My ship crashed. I'm lost." The alien tilted her head, her eyes softened just a little. "Lost," she repeated in a quiet, melodic voice. "Human lost. Her accent was strange but clear. Ethan took a small step forward. "You can speak English," she nodded slowly. "Learned from old signals long ago." Her eyes flickered to his wound. "You are hurt." Before he could answer, she moved closer, fast but calm. Her hand glowed faint blue as she touched his leg. The pain faded instantly. The wound closed before his eyes. Ethan stared in disbelief. "You healed me." She didn't answer. She just looked at him, not with pride, not with power, but with something he didn't expect: sadness. The bond of outsiders. As the hours passed, they began to talk slowly, carefully. Her name was Alira, and she lived here alone. Ethan noticed she never spoke of her home or why she was here. When he asked, her face turned away. "I am not welcome there," she said softly. He didn't push. He could see in her eyes the pain of exile, even if he didn't understand it. Instead, he told her about Earth, about blue skies and oceans, about cities full of light. She listened quietly, like every word was a treasure. When he spoke of the stars, she smiled for the first time. "Humans still dream," she said, "even after losing so much." He frowned. "What do you mean?" But she only whispered, "You will see soon." The hidden danger. As the sun set, strange sounds echoed through the forest, deep mechanical roars. Alira's head snapped up. Her eyes glowed faint silver. "They are near." "Who?" Ethan asked. "My father's hunters," she said, voice cold now. "They search for me." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Your father? Wait, you're a royal." Alira didn't answer. She grabbed his arm. "If they find you with me, they will kill you too." They ran through the forest, moving fast between roots and fallen trees. The ground shook with distant explosions. The hunters were using scanners, sweeping the area. Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. The forest's light dimmed as if hiding them. Finally, they stopped near an old stone gate covered in moss. Alira placed her hand on it. The runes glowed and a hidden passage opened beneath the roots. "In here," she said. Ethan looked at her. "What is this place?" She looked back at the dark tunnel, her expression unreadable. "My people once called it the sanctuary." They stepped inside as the forest closed behind them, leaving only the whisper of wind and the faint glow of alien symbols. The ending hook above the forest, the Emperor's drones circled like predators. Their sensors locked onto a faint trace of human technology, Ethan's crashed shuttle. A metallic voice echoed in the air. "Target found. The princess is not alone." Deep below, Alira paused mid-step, eyes widening as her wrist console lit up red. "They found us," she whispered. And for the first time, Ethan saw fear in her eyes, the kind of fear that meant their story was only just beginning. The underground passage was cold and narrow. Faint blue lights glowed on the walls, shaped like veins running through stone. The air smelled of metal and earth, and every sound, every drip of water echoed like a heartbeat. Ethan followed Alira deeper, his flashlight flickering. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice bouncing off the walls. Alira's steps were silent, graceful. "This was once sacred," she said softly. "A place where my ancestors spoke with the forest, before the empire, before my father's rule." Ethan looked around. Strange carvings covered the stone, tall beings with eyes like stars, hands stretched toward trees that seemed alive. "You mean your people worship nature?" "Not worship," she corrected. "We listened. The forest was our ally once, but now," her voice trailed off, sadness in her eyes, "now it hides me." The living light. As they reached the heart of the tunnel, the path opened into a vast underground chamber. The ceiling shimmered with crystal roots, glowing softly in green and gold. A circular pool sat at the center, its water perfectly still, like a mirror reflecting the stars. Ethan's jaw dropped. "This is incredible." Alira stepped toward the pool and knelt, touching the surface with her fingers. The water rippled and faint holograms rose, visions of another time. He saw alien warriors, ships rising from a burning world, and a young girl, Alira, watching from a balcony as the sky turned red. "That's you," Ethan whispered. She nodded slowly. The day I was forced to choose. My father ordered me to destroy a human colony. I refused. He called it betrayal. Ethan took a step closer. You chose mercy. Mercy, she said, as if tasting the word. Yes, but in his eyes, mercy is weakness. She looked at the hologram again and her expression hardened. I am hunted because I spared your kind. I hid here because I believed anyone would understand. Ethan looked at her, really seeing her now, not just as an alien or a warrior, but as someone burdened by choices too heavy for one heart. The sound of fear, a deep rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. The holograms vanished. Ethan looked up, alarmed. What was that? Alira's eyes narrowed. They found the entrance. She ran to a panel near the wall, pressing her palm against it. Energy lines flared, sealing the passage with glowing barriers. The drones are scanning. We have minutes. Ethan's pulse quickened. Can't we hide deeper? There is no deeper, she said. Only through. Through what? She looked at him, then at the glowing pool. The forest's heart. Before he could ask, she stepped into the water. It didn't splash. Instead, it rippled like light, swallowing her feet. She reached back. Trust me, human. He hesitated only a second, then took her hand. The world dissolved. The heart of the forest, they fell into silence, not darkness, but a strange, endless glow. The air felt alive, filled with whispers, like hundreds of voices speaking softly all around them. Ethan could see shapes, roots curling like veins, giant glowing seeds floating in the air, and within them memories. He saw a young Alira laughing with her mother, a great alien city built in harmony with trees, and then fire, war, and betrayal. The forest remembers, Alira said quietly. It keeps everything. Is it showing us your past? Yes, it shows what it wants us to see. Ethan turned slowly. Then what does it want now? The air trembled and a deep voice echoed, not with sound, but inside their minds. Daughter of Zintheria, your blood returns. Alira froze. No, not you. The light around them pulsed faster. A ghostly figure formed, tall, glowing, with eyes like stars. You defied your destiny, the voice said. You brought a human into the sacred heart. The balance will break. Ethan stepped forward instinctively. Leave her alone. The figure's gaze turned to him. And you, fragile child of Earth, you are not meant to walk among us. The air around Ethan thickened. He gasped, falling to one knee. Alira's eyes flared bright silver. Enough, she shouted. He is under my protection. The forest shuddered, then went still. The promise, when the light faded, they were back in the chamber. The drone's hum was louder now, echoing from above. Ethan sat beside her, breathing hard. What was that thing? She looked at him, eyes calm but fierce. A memory and a warning. My people's ancestors built this world. The forest obeys their will, but even it fears what's coming. What's coming? She looked at the ceiling as faint light flickered, the sound of engines drawing near. My father's wrath. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we fight. Alira turned to him, a soft smile on her lips. You're brave for a human. He shrugged, trying to hide his fear. Guess I learned from the best. Their eyes met for a moment. The war above didn't matter. Only the quiet promise in that look. We survived together. The final hook. Suddenly, a blast rocked the chamber. The ground split open, sending dust and shards into the air. A mechanical voice thundered from above. Princess Alira of Zintheria, surrender or the human dies. Ethan looked up in horror as beams of red light pierced the ceiling. Alira stood tall, her eyes glowing bright as molten silver. If they want to fight, she said, raising her hand as energy swirled around her, then they will remember why I was once called the Emperor's Blade. The forest roared to life, roots twisting like serpents, light bursting through cracks, and the true power of Alaris awakened. And somewhere, deep within the chaos, a legend was being born. The story of an alien princess and the human who defied a galaxy to stand beside her. The forest shook with thunder that was not from the sky. From far above, 3 black ships pierced through the clouds, leaving trails of burning red light behind them. They moved silently, scanning the surface like predators circling prey. Below, deep inside the ancient sanctuary, Aelira and Ethan could hear the low hum of approaching death. "They've found us," she said quietly, her silver eyes flickering. "My father's elite guard. They never fail." Ethan stood beside her, his heart racing. "Then we run." She looked at him, a sad smile ghosting her lips. "Run where, human? This planet is surrounded. The forest is our only ally now." The storm breaks. The first explosion came from the surface, a roar that sent dust and light crashing through the tunnels. Rocks fell from the ceiling and the ancient walls groaned under the weight of violence. Ethan grabbed her hand as the floor split. "Move," he shouted. They ran through a narrow corridor, guided only by the light from Aelira's wristband. Behind them, fire and smoke chased like a living beast. When they reached the surface, the once beautiful forest had turned into a battlefield. Giant drones floated above the trees, firing plasma bolts that lit the night like blue lightning. The scent of burning moss filled the air. Aelira pressed a control on her armor, and a shimmering shield formed around them just as another blast struck nearby. "Your people sure know how to say hello," Ethan gasped. She didn't answer. Her gaze hardened as she saw one of the ships landing nearby. "Those are Seraph hunters, my father's personal executioners." "Sounds friendly," Ethan said dryly. "Stay close to me," she said, "and whatever happens, do not run from me." The battle in the woods. From the smoke, 3 alien soldiers appeared, tall, armored in black, their weapons glowing with pulsing red veins. They spoke in the harsh tongue of Zintheria. "Princess Aelira," one hissed through his helmet, "by order of the Emperor, surrender or perish." Aelira raised her chin. "Tell my father I've already chosen death over obedience." Ethan swallowed hard. "That's not very reassuring." The lead hunter raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the ground beneath them erupted. Giant roots burst from the earth, wrapping around the soldiers like serpents. The forest was fighting back. "The forest listens to me now," Aelira said, her voice low and steady. "And it remembers the pain your empire caused." The hunters sliced through the roots with plasma blades, but Aelira was already moving fast, graceful, glowing with power. She struck first. A wave of blue energy knocked one soldier off his feet. Another fired at her, but Ethan grabbed a fallen weapon and blasted the drone above them, causing it to crash into the trees. "Not bad for a human," she said, breathing hard. "Not bad for someone who didn't plan to die today," he shot back. The hidden power. They managed to escape deeper into the forest, through a valley lit by the twin moons. Aelira stumbled, her armor flickered, damaged by the fight. Ethan caught her. "You're hurt." She shook her head. "I'll live, but my energy core is almost empty. Without it, I can't control the forest." Ethan looked around. The forest was quiet now, watching them. "Then let me help. Tell me what to do." Aelira hesitated. "There is one way, but it's dangerous." She led him to a clearing where the roots glowed brighter like veins of pure energy. "This is the heart vein, the forest's life source. If I connect my core to it, it will restore me or destroy me." Ethan stared at her. "You can't risk that." "I have to," she said softly. "If I don't, we both die." Before he could stop her, she pressed her hands against the glowing roots. The forest lit up, light racing through every tree, every leaf, every drop of air. Her armor shimmered. The energy poured into her, her eyes glowing white, then silence. She fell forward. Ethan caught her, shouting, "Aelira, wake up." For a heartbeat, he thought she was gone, then her eyes opened brighter, sharper. "I'm not done yet," she said, her voice echoing with strange power. The turning point. The hunters returned, dozens of them, stepping out from the smoke. Their leader raised his blade. "End this, traitor." But Aelira didn't move. Instead, she whispered something in the alien tongue. The ground trembled. The forest responded. Roots erupted like waves, trees bent forward, and glowing vines wrapped around the invaders, pulling them into the earth. The sky turned green with energy. Ethan shielded his eyes as the light swallowed everything. When it cleared, the hunters were gone. Only their broken armor remained, half buried in the soil. Alira stood tall, breathing hard but alive. The forest around her pulsed gently as if bowing in respect. Ethan walked to her slowly. You controlled the whole forest." She nodded faintly. "No, it chose to protect me." He looked at her, covered in light and shadow, part warrior, part myth. "Then maybe it knows something your father doesn't." She turned toward the horizon where smoke rose in the distance. "My father won't stop. The next time he will come himself." Ethan crossed his arms. "Then he'll have to face both of us." Alira looked at him, really looked, and for the first time her eyes softened. "Then perhaps," she said, "this galaxy still has hope." The hook for next part. Far above, in the Emperor's warship, a general knelt before the throne. "The hunters have failed, my lord. The princess still lives." The Emperor rose slowly, his armor glowing like molten stone. His eyes burned cold. "Then I will go myself," he said, "and I will end this with fire." The stars trembled. The war for Alaris had just begun. The smoke of battle drifted away slowly, carried by the wind like ghosts fading into dawn. The forest was quiet again, too quiet. The ground still hummed from the power Alira had released, and the air smelled of metal, fire, and new life. Ethan sat beside a fallen tree, staring at the glowing vines that now pulsed calmly around them. "Did we win?" he asked, half joking, half terrified. Alira stood a few steps away, eyes reflecting the twin suns rising over the horizon. "For now," she said softly, "but peace never lasts long when my father is hunting." The wounded planet they walked until the light grew warm. Trees bent toward them as if recognizing their presence. Birds returned to the branches, singing in strange, haunting tones. Ethan looked up. "This place feels alive." "It is," Alira replied. "The forest is not just soil and trees. It is memory, a living network older than my people." She paused, kneeling beside a large root that glowed faintly blue. "This planet was once the cradle of all life in this sector. My ancestors tried to merge technology with nature to make both stronger." Ethan frowned. "You mean like biotechnology?" Alira smiled faintly. "You call it that, we called it symbiosis, but my father twisted it. He used the same gift to build weapons, to control minds." Her hand brushed the root gently. "The forest remembers him. That's why it helped me. It wants to be free again." The hidden door they followed, a trail of vines that glowed brighter as they walked. The path led to a cliff where a massive stone wall stood, covered in alien runes. Ethan tilted his head. "Looks like a dead end." Alira walked forward. "No, it's a door, one only my blood can open." She touched the stone with her palm. Light spread from her hand, crawling across the wall like lightning veins. The stone shifted, revealing a staircase leading down. Ethan blinked. "You've got to be kidding me, you have secret temples now." Alira looked back with a teasing glint in her eyes. "You humans hide your truths in books. My people hide them underground." They descended slowly. The air grew cooler and the glow brighter. When they reached the bottom, Ethan gasped. The chamber was enormous, a hall of mirrors and roots, filled with floating crystals, each one showing fragments of history. The echo of the past. Alira stepped toward one of the crystals. It shimmered, showing a scene, a younger version of herself standing beside her father, looking at a burning planet. Ethan watched quietly as voices echoed through the chamber. "Power is control," the Emperor's voice thundered. "No," the younger Alira answered. "Power should protect life." The image dissolved into darkness. Alira lowered her eyes. "He wanted me to lead his armies. I wanted to heal what he destroyed. That was my greatest sin." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing." She looked at him. "The right thing cost me everything, my home, my name, my people." Ethan shook his head. "Maybe not everything. You're still here and you're not alone anymore." Her eyes softened. "Strange human," she said quietly. "You speak like someone who believes in impossible things." He smiled. "That's what humans do best." The living core at the center of the hall stood, a pedestal made of living roots, pulsing with energy. Inside it was a small orb glowing bright gold. Aelira stepped closer. "This is the heart seed," she whispered. "The first symbiotic core ever made. It can heal a world or destroy one." Ethan's eyes widened. "Your father must know it's here." "Yes," she said, "and that's why he's coming." She turned to him. "If he takes this seed, every forest, every living system in this galaxy will obey him. He'll control life itself." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we don't let him have it." Aelira's gaze lingered on the orb. "The forest chose to hide it from him, but it will not stay hidden forever." The warning suddenly, the crystals flickered. The chamber trembled. A deep, ancient voice filled the air, the same one they heard in the sanctuary before. "Daughter of Zintheria, your father has crossed the veil." The skies burn once more. The orb flared brighter, reacting to the voice. Energy rippled through the chamber. Ethan stumbled back. "What's happening?" Aelira's expression turned grim. "He's here. The Emperor's flagship has entered orbit." She turned toward the light, her armor shifting back into place. "There's no more running, Ethan. The time for hiding is over." He looked at her, terrified but determined. "Then what's the plan?" She smiled faintly, that same brave, reckless smile that made him trust her more than reason. "The plan, we make him see what mercy looks like." The final hook. The ground shook as thunder rolled from above, not weather but war. Red lights cut through the treetops. The Emperor's voice echoed from the sky itself, cold and mighty. "Aelira, daughter of Zintheria, come forth and kneel. Spare the human and your death will be swift." Aelira looked up, eyes glowing white. He still believes fear can rule. She turned to Ethan. "Come, the next battle is not for the forest, it's for every world that still breathes." They climbed the steps back to the surface, light wrapping around them. The trees bowed as they passed, whispering their names like an old prophecy come true. And above the clouds, the Emperor's warship opened its burning wings, a star of death ready to fall upon the world his daughter now swore to protect. The sky burned red. From the heavens above, the Emperor's flagship, the Eclipse of Zintheria, descended slowly, its shadow covering the entire forest. It wasn't just a ship, it was a floating fortress shaped like a black sun, its energy core glowing with molten light. Ethan stared up in awe and fear. "That's a whole city in the sky." Aelira's eyes hardened. "It's more than that, it's my father's pride and his greatest weapon." The forest trembled. The roots shivered, whispering warnings. The heart seed pulsed faintly in her hand, glowing brighter every time the ship's engines roared. "The forest feels his presence," Aelira said softly. "It remembers his cruelty." Ethan stepped closer. "Then let's give it something new to remember." The Emperor descends. A beam of red light tore through the clouds, hitting the forest floor. The ground split open, and through the smoke stepped the Emperor himself. He was taller than any human, armored in obsidian metal that seemed to drink the light around him. His eyes glowed blue, not warm like the sky, but cold like dying stars. When he spoke, the air itself seemed to tremble. "Aelira, my lost child." Aelira took a step forward. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly. "I am not lost. You cast me away." The Emperor's gaze flicked to Ethan. "And yet you let this creature stand beside you. You shame your bloodline." Ethan's pulse quickened, but he didn't step back. "I may not have your strength," he said, "but I have something you don't." The Emperor's voice rumbled. "And what is that, human?" "Humanity," Ethan said simply. For the first time, a small, bitter laugh escaped the Emperor. "Empty words from a fragile thing. You will break like all the others." The clash of worlds without warning. The ground exploded between them. The Emperor's power surged through the forest like fire through dry grass. Trees turned to ash, the air rippled with energy. Aelira leapt forward, her armor flaring with silver light. Her blade, formed from pure energy, met her father's molten spear in a clash that sent shockwaves through the valley. Each strike echoed like thunder. Sparks turned to lightning. "You taught me strength," she shouted, blocking his swing. "But never compassion." He struck harder, his voice sharp. "Compassion weakens the throne." Ethan ran through the chaos, dodging debris, trying to reach the heart seed lying on a stone altar nearby. Aelira, the core, she understood instantly. Their eyes met a silent plan. She feinted left, drawing her father's attention while Ethan reached the glowing orb. The moment his fingers brushed it, the energy flared, flooding his mind with visions, stars, galaxies, voices, memories not his own. Asped, the forest's consciousness spoke to him. "Human, will you bear the pain of two worlds?" He hesitated only a second. "If it saves her, yes." The heart seed fused with his hand, glowing golden. The turning of the tide energy burst outward, lifting Ethan off the ground. The roots of the forest responded, growing like living shields around him. Aelira felt the surge. "What did you do?" He smiled faintly through the pain. "I think I borrowed your planet's heart." The Emperor turned, his eyes narrowing. "Impossible." The forest rose against him. Trees bent their branches into spears. Vines lashed out, wrapping around his legs, but the Emperor unleashed a storm of fire, burning through everything in his path. "You cannot stop me," he thundered. "I am life and death itself." Aelira shouted, "You were until you forgot what life means." She leapt through the flames, her armor shining brighter than before. The forest's light joined hers, merging their power. For a moment, father and daughter stood in perfect opposition, past and future, destruction and mercy. Then they struck. A blinding flash consumed everything. The choice when the light faded, Aelira was kneeling, her weapon shattered. The Emperor stood before her, wounded but unbroken. Ethan lay nearby, the heart seed still glowing faintly in his chest. The Emperor raised his spear. "You disappoint me one last time." Aelira looked up slowly. "No, father, I set myself free." She reached out and touched the heart seed's light. It pulsed, flowing from Ethan into her. Golden energy spread through her veins, merging with her silver glow. The Emperor tried to strike, but the light stopped him. The forest itself rose around them, its roots wrapping gently, not to kill, but to hold. Her voice echoed like a song through the burning trees. "I don't want your throne, I want balance." The Emperor's armor cracked, his eyes dimmed, sorrow flickering where rage once lived. For the first time he whispered her name, not as a command but as a father. Aelira, the light surrounded him and he was gone. Aftermath silence returned, the fire faded, the sky cleared. Aelira stood over the ashes, her body trembling. The forest was alive again, its glow soft and calm. Ethan coughed weakly. "Remind me to never make your dad angry again." She knelt beside him, smiling through tears. "You borrowed the heart of a planet, I should be angry at you." He looked up at her, tired but smiling. "You'd miss me too much." She laughed, a sound that carried warmth through the quiet woods. Above them the twin suns rose again, golden and gentle. The forest whispered softly like a lullaby. Aelira closed her eyes. "It's over." Ethan shook his head. "No, it's just beginning." The hook for the final part as they walked toward the valley. The heart seed pulsed once more in Ethan's chest, faint but alive. And deep beneath the forest, where shadows still lingered, a whisper echoed, balance restored, but at what cost? A new dawn was rising, and with it the birth of something neither human nor alien, but both. The beginning of a new kind of world. The battle was over, but the silence it left behind was heavier than war itself. The forest of Alaris was still glowing, soft green light moving through its roots like slow, steady breaths. The air smelled of rain and ash. The twin suns had not yet risen, but the horizon was beginning to glow gold. Aelira stood on a cliff overlooking the valley. The trees that had burned now regrew slowly, their leaves shining like new emeralds. Life was returning. She was alive, but changed. Her armor no longer glowed with silver fire. Instead, her skin shimmered faintly with the forest's golden hue. She was part of it now, a living bridge between alien and nature. Behind her, Ethan climbed the rocky path, limping slightly but smiling. "Still standing, huh?" he said, breathing hard. She turned to him, a gentle smile forming. "You should be resting, you're only human." He grinned. You keep saying that like it's an insult. The quiet after the storm, they sat together on the edge of the cliff. The sun's first light touched their faces. Birds sang again, a new melody, one that hadn't been heard since before the Emperor's rule. For a long time neither spoke. Finally, Ethan asked, "What happens now?" Lyra looked toward the forest. "The planet is healing. The forest has chosen a new guardian." Ethan frowned. "You mean you?" She nodded slowly. "It's what the heart wanted. I'm its connection now. I feel every root, every leaf, every heartbeat of this world." He watched her, awe mixing with sadness. "So you can't leave?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "If I go, the balance will break again. My father's power is gone, but his ships still roam. I must stay at least until the world is safe." Ethan looked down at his hands. "And me?" She smiled faintly. "You were never meant to stay here, Ethan Hale. The stars still call your name." He laughed softly. "Yeah, but it's hard to go when the most incredible person I've ever met is staying behind." Lyra turned her head. Her eyes, once cold silver, now glowed like sunrise. "The forest will remember you. It already whispers your name." He chuckled. "Good to know I made a fan club in the trees." The message in the light, a sound echoed in the distance, not thunder, but energy. Ethan looked up. A small human shuttle descended from the clouds, scanning for survivors. His distress beacon had finally worked. He turned to her. "That's my ride." Lyra nodded, though her eyes were distant. "The humans will need to know what happened here, not as a warning, but as a lesson." "I'll tell them," Ethan said. "I'll tell them everything about you, about this world, about what we could be." She reached out, touching his chest where the faint mark of the heart seed still glowed. "Carry this light with you. The forest will always be connected to your spirit." He felt warmth spread through him like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. "Lyra," he said softly, "thank you for saving me and maybe everyone else too." She smiled. "No, Ethan, you saved me. You showed me what it means to be human." The departure, the shuttle landed nearby. Two humans in explorer suits waved from the ramp, calling his name. Ethan hesitated. "You sure you'll be okay?" She looked at the forest behind her. The trees moved gently, bowing as if answering for her. "I am never alone." He stepped closer, his hand trembling slightly. "If there's ever a way back," she leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. The glow between them pulsed golden and warm. "Then follow the stars," she whispered. "They will lead you to me." When she stepped back, her form began to fade into shimmering light, not dying, but becoming one with the forest. Ethan watched, his eyes wide and wet. "Lyra," her voice came through the wind. "Goodbye, human, until the next dawn." And then she was gone, her essence scattering into the air like golden dust. Years later, recording log 612A, Captain Ethan Hale. 10 years have passed since the Alaris incident. The forest world is alive again. We now call it the living planet. The alliance of humans and Zinthurians has begun. We rebuilt together. We learned what she tried to teach us, that power means nothing without compassion. He paused the recorder and looked out the ship's window. Alaris shimmered below, no longer a world of exile, but a world of peace. Some nights, when the stars aligned just right, he could hear it, a faint whisper in his mind, a voice made of wind and light. "Ethan, the forest remembers." And he would smile softly, closing his eyes. "I remember too." The last image, as the camera of imagination pulls back, the scene fades into the stars, the forest glowing like a heartbeat in the darkness of space. And there, standing beneath the twin suns, formed from light and roots, Lyra watched the stars. Her whisper drifted across galaxies. "In the heart of every world lies a choice, to destroy or to protect. My father chose fear, I chose life. And one human helped me remember why it matters." The suns rose together, painting the sky in gold and silver. And thus ended the legend of Lyra of Alaris, the alien princess who defied her empire, and the human who taught her to be free. White, heavy check mark, end of story. Banished by her father, the alien princess hid in the woods until a human found her. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to become part of this story. This is born of two worlds where reality ends and imagination begins.